All right, so one of the many things that we're gonna cover right now is the distracting backgrounds. Now this is important because a lot of amateurs do make this mistake. And I wanna make sure that you guys are aware of this when you're taking photographs, especially at weddings. What you don't wanna do is shoot with a big aperture, meaning like something like f9, f16, unless you're going for a very specific shot. But don't forget, when you're doing weddings or portrait photography, it's all about that bokeh, that really blown out background and foregrounds. And that's the image that you want to get, especially when you've got objects behind your subject. Those are distracting backgrounds. You don't want your background to compete with your subject. Now, if you're trying to include the model and the background as part of your whole image, that's a different story. But when you're trying to isolate your model, you want to isolate her as much as possible and remove as much of the distraction as you can. So what you want to do is focus on what type of lens you're going to use for your shoot. Because if you use the wrong lens, then you're not going to get the shots that you're looking for. So lenses are everything. You guys heard me discuss this many times. It really doesn't matter what body you have to a certain point. It really depends on your lens. So if you're going to spend any money on anything, make sure it's your lens. In this case, I'm using the 85mm 1.8 lens. This will definitely help remove a lot of distraction from the background. Now again, you may want to shoot with some distraction in the background, depends on what you're shooting. But this time we're going to shoot with a wide aperture and we're going to choose a distance which is going to blow out that background. Now, this background is very nice, it's not so much distracting, but I do want to make sure I illustrate a point. In this case, we're going to completely blur out that background. And then we're going to take a couple of shots with that background in focus. As always, I will put up my settings as I'm shooting each of the pictures so you guys can check out exactly what I'm doing. But I don't want you to focus so much on the technical rather than the creativity. Once again, shooting with a shallow depth of field really makes your subject stand out. It draws the attention to your viewer to what you want them to see. When you have a distracting background, now it's competing. So both elements are fighting for attention. So as you can see by those two images, or a few images that I've shown you, how it looks when you have a distracting background versus a blown out background. A distracting background will always compete with your model, and you don't want to have your background compete with your model. So again, all it is just tweaking the aperture and choosing a distance. The closer you are, the more blurred out that background is going to be. The farther you're away, the more in focus everything will be, regardless if you're shooting at a 2.8 or a 1.8. If you're really far back, you'll still get that background pretty much in focus. All right, so what we're gonna do is talk about fill light here. Now, we're not gonna touch so much on this subject, and we're not going to use fill flash in the traditional sense. I'm going to use a couple of techniques that I picked up along the way. I just somehow just learned to do it on my own. But it does create very even light in a very natural setting. So what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of the light, the sunlight that's coming through the arches, and we're going to use that as a rim light on her hair. It's going to look very nice, and what we're going to do is use this wall right here to bounce the flash off of, instead of traditionally have it pointing towards your subject. So let's go ahead and take a couple of shots and see what we get out of it. All right, let's go ahead and shoot. All right, if you can stand right there, back up, perfect, there we go. And as I'm not a big fan of directing light directly into somebody's face, I like bouncing the light as it creates a much more even, flattering look. In this case, it worked out pretty good. I had a white wall right behind me, so this doesn't always work, but when you have the chance, try it. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me on another video. I've got plenty more coming up. We've got a new team, new people we're gonna be working with. I can't wait to show you all these videos that we've got coming up. If you guys have any suggestions on future videos, go ahead and leave me a message either on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or here in the description bar below. I would love to hear from you guys to see what you guys would like to learn. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that wonderful stuff. And I'll see you guys on the next video. I want you to do this with me. Peace. Hey, everybody gets that. Betty here. I got Betty here. Here. I have Betty here. Hey guys, Sean here again. Thanks for joining me on another great episode where I show you all the great stupid things that you need to shoot pictures. All right, so moving on. Right, so what we're gonna do, so one of the first things that you have to remember when you're outdoors shooting is take your camera with you. Right now, what we're